Hey everyone! Did you guys Bismuth me?
If we were going to see the reaction of any secondary character to the Rose Diner reveal, it was going to be Bismuth. We weren't going to see Laps's reaction to this yet because she's not here, and also because her reaction to this is obviously going to come along with some more character development for her. And we weren't going to see Peridot's reaction, for example, because Peridot has no emotional connection to Rose or Pink Diamond. It wouldn't matter. In fact, right now, the only secondary character involved in the show who isn't a giant monster in a bubble is Bismuth. And between all of that and the fact that it has been suggested for a while that she was going to be in the show again soon, it makes sense that it would be here. And I'm pretty sure that Steven, being the good guy that he is, even if he hadn't unbubbled Bismuth for the reasons that he did in this episode, I still think he would have thought to do so relatively soon. Steven is helping Ruby and Sapphire plan their wedding, because of course he is. And it's absolutely adorable. It's just as adorable as you would expect. And then some. Apparently he's been planning for their potential wedding for a very long time, and it's super cute. He has this huge wedding binder for the two of them, and even has had custom stamps made with the two of them on it for their invitations. And he is so good at this that even when they ask for a very specific wedding cake, he has something that'll work. It's fantastic, and it's funny, and it's cute, and I really loved it. But as he is planning their wedding, he realizes that Sapphire is upset because she's realized that so many of the people that they knew from the past aren't going to be able to be there. Like, Steven is inviting the whole town, so they're going to have guests, but all of their old war friends aren't going to be there. They are either dead or turned into monsters and bubbled in the basement. But Steven remembers that one of their old war friends is bubbled in that basement and isn't a monster, so he goes and gets her. Because of course he does. I mean, he's already shown that his kung fu is stronger than her kung fu anyway, so even if she gets rowdy, he can still handle her. And, he also recognizes that she is a good person and that she deserves the truth, so that was probably a factor too. And of course, her first response isn't, hey, I want to keep trying to kill you. It's, why would you let me out when I tried to kill you? And she even acknowledges that he's not Rose. She corrects herself and confirms that she realizes he's not Rose, like she thought during that entire confrontation. Unfortunately, this is also an example of one of Steven's short-sighted moments, and he unbubbles her in the burning room with all of her bubbled friends floating above her head. And so she, of course, freaks out and unbubbles Biggs Jasper, one of the big Jasper monsters that we saw working with Jasper, because her first instinct is, of course, that Rose bubbled all these other people because they didn't agree with her too. And she sees Biggs turn into her corrupted form. So now she knows that corruption is a thing, and even helps Steven to defeat and rebubble Biggs, and then sits down and lets him explain everything. Bismuth is now just as caught up on things as the rest of the Crystal Gems, except maybe Peridot. And she reacts pretty much exactly how I expected her to. She's a rough and tumble warrior type, so she rolls with the punches. She knew Rose extremely well. The fact that Pearl was already using swords during the initial rebellion when it was just her and Rose attacking the diamonds, coupled with the revelation that Bismuth made all of the material weapons for the Crystal Gems, means that Bismuth was already a Crystal Gem at that time too, that she was the third ever Crystal Gem. So of course she knows Rose better than almost anyone, and so looking back with the mindset of a warrior at all of Rose's behavior, it actually makes sense in her mind that Rose was Pink Diamond. After all, that alone explains why Rose was so vehemently against even listening to Bismuth about the breaking point, which Bismuth actually points out in a pretty humorous scene. In fact, the entire scene is pretty humorous. Like, you still feel the emotions. Obviously, Bismuth still hurts. She's still hurting because of it. And she is going to have to work through these things. She's going to have to deal with them for herself. But she handles the situation with humor and rolls with the punches. And now she and Steven are good, and that's honestly what I expected from a second encounter between these two. And one of the best things about this episode is now that Bismuth is back and we're not in an episode where she's just exposition dumping about her past, we actually get to see her open up as a character above and beyond her just interacting with her old friends. And as much as I already thought that I liked Bismuth's character from her self-titled episode, I like her even more now. She's a very solidly written, very likable character. Steven explains that he wants to surprise Ruby and Sapphire with her. Bismuth has no idea what a wedding is, but he explains off screen, and she's not sure that she wants to go. The title of this episode is Maid of Honor, honor being the operative word. Bismuth feels like she betrayed her honor by attacking Steven, by attacking someone who hadn't harmed her and who her friends care about so much. And Steven has to talk things through with her and actually convince her that he's forgiven her and that that's enough, that her friends will forgive her too. I like this a lot because you can always read this as Bismuth looking for a reason to blame herself for anything that she can, because She feels like she should have realized what was going on with Rose in the past. She feels like she didn't do a good enough job back then, so she's trying to blame herself for whatever she can now to make up for that. And so in that moment, Steven is able to use his strong people skills that he's been developing, the ones which make him such a good leader, to help her to realize just how ridiculous that is and to convince her to come and make her friends happy. And so that's exactly what she does. And we got to see her and Garnet interact extensively in her previous appearance, but now we get to see her interact with Ruby and Sapphire, and you can tell she loves them just as much as she loved Garnet. This was an excellent episode. I'm very happy to have Bismuth back in what seems like something of a permanent capacity, even though she can't be in every episode. Unfortunately, she is an expensive guest star. And I don't know where they're going to put her, because the barn doesn't exist anymore. I guess they could hide her at the forge or something. End of the day, I'm super happy to have her back in whatever capacity we do have her back in. And I'm really glad that she finally resolved things with Steven, because I always saw them as two characters who would get along really well. But as per usual, guys, I'd like to know, what did you think of this episode if you have seen it? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord. Link in the description. Also, what do you think of my new hat? Either way, though, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.